Good morning. Good morning. Woo! It's so good to see all of you again this morning, and it was so fun cutting up on the dance floor with all of you last night, and I couldn't quite stop. I had to boogie a little bit today, and it's just such an exciting moment for me, for us, for all of us. The lead up to Buffalo has been a lot of fun, and I've gotten to know so many amazing people as we work together to bring this conference to such a wonderful host city and to such a wonderful group of attendees. And in the lead up, so I do love the animal, the buffalo. I went to the University of Colorado. We were the Buffs, and so it's always been kind of fun. There's this buffalo that runs around the field before the football games and stuff, and it's named Ralphie, and it just there was just so much momentum coming into this. I'm getting a puppy next week. I named it Ralphie, buffalo, 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 buffalo. And some of the meanings for the buffalo: abundance. And I feel like we've had that in spades these last couple of days. Strength. Some of the stories from communities and the people that are living in them demonstrate incredible strength. All of you coming here. Courage to do this work because it takes caring and believing, and sometimes it's hard to have all of those things, to be the person who's saying yes. So thank you for that courage. And then the community. I mean, I feel like I have joined a community. It has felt like there is such connection together with all of you. We started things out with the Gainio singers and dancers and the very good songs that they brought and the way they kicked off this event for us, talking about rural communities being really empowered in this new moment in time with AI. And then the long conversation, the roots and the wings. And if you haven't seen yet, we've got roots and wings all over. Our graphic facilitator, can we give him a hand? I mean, it's been amazing. And being in Buffalo, we do have, if you haven't seen the newer Roots and Wings, definitely check that out. It's worth a good chuckle, and I hope to have a few more wings before I head back to Maryland. We had those rural youth leaders, and the courage and the strength and the community that they brought to us in the stage yesterday was just incredible. Talking about community schools yesterday, and then thinking about what it does take for adolescents to thrive with Lisa Lawson yesterday. And one of our really good partners in bringing us here has been the Tamarack Institute. And so we're about to hear from them too. And then I'm really looking forward to ending our time together with Ben Soli and some more really good songs and our journey home. But before we do move into this next phase, there's a lot of folks that I want to thank. I mentioned Tamarack. You guys have been incredible partners. Thank you so much. Clarity. You guys have been amazing AV partners. Thank you. The staff here at the Convention Center have been really helpful. We've had amazing presenters and coaches and attendees, and I also want to make sure that I send a huge thanks to the Partners for Rural Impact team that have worked tirelessly to bring this. And PRI folks, if you can stand so that folks can thank you. And then something else kind of fun happened when I got here. I think almost the only time I've been outside, unless I'm waiting for an Uber, was the first day I got here on Saturday, and I took a little walk around the block. And here I am in Buffalo, loving all the statues, right? And I found this like little independent bookbinding art store, and some of you may have seen it. And so I was, buying all the Buffalo things that they had in there. And I came across a book of poetry there called Bedful of Nebraskas. And it just made me feel like, yes, this is, it is all as it should be. So I have one of these books for our Nebraska hosts for next year, and I can't wait for that too. Thank you all for being so warm and welcoming as I enjoyed my first homecoming. And with that, Tamarack, please.
I have a quiet voice. How's it in the back? Good? Okay. Bon matin. Buenos días a todos. Good morning, everyone. My name is Danya Pastuzik. I'm a mom. I'm a runner. I spent 10 years at Promise Partnership Utah, and I've had the great privilege to be at Tamarack Institute for Community Engagement for just about 4 years now. I'm here with my fantastic colleagues, Sylvia Chewy and Lisa Atigayo. Thanks for all your work. And we are here representing a team of 40 amazing people spread across Canada, and a couple in Europe and the UK as well, actually. I want to start by saying that we meet today on the territory of the Seneca Nation, which is a member of the Haudenosaunee and Six Nations Confederacy. This territory predates the Canada-US border and reflects the shared stewardship of lands and of waters across the Great Lakes region. I looked at this last night. The Great Lakes region is 8 states and most of southern Ontario. It really spoke to me about the connectivity across these lands, Canada and the US. The territory is covered by 2 treaties, including the Dish with One Spoon of peace and friendship. And this is a pledge to share and care for the resources around these vast Great Lakes. I've been doing a lot of reading on this treaty since moving to Canada 11 years ago, and I think of it as a framework for systemic change and collective care. It sees economic nobility not as advancement for individual people, but as opportunities to build resources shared across people and places. I'm grateful to be here in the home of the Haudenosaunee people, and I'm committed to really hearing what they know about belonging and about economic mobility and how they work together, which is what we're about to talk about for the next hour. We're so glad to be partners in this event with PRI, who we've admired since their roots at Berea College. And just a bit about Tamarack, in case you don't know. We turn 25 next year as an organization. I'm older than 25 by a lot. We are based in Canada, as I said, and our goal is to end poverty in all of its forms by catalyzing collaboration in places, across scales, and across countries. Each year, we build the capacity and we build connections across 40,000 people. We work with nearly 150 places across Canada and parts of the US. And we organize people and places around policies, not as something that's decided in the halls of power, but as something that can be really a tool for what community is asking for when we harness and bring together the collective power of people and places around the same goals, around the same messages. Our work is about poverty in all of its forms, as I mentioned, and one of those forms of poverty is our connection to others. It's loneliness, it's belonging. Belonging's been mentioned many, many times throughout this gathering, and this morning we're going to take the opportunity to bring it to the forefront, to define it and to see its connections to cradle-to-career pathways for rural youth, and really to learn from each other. We're going to be talking a bit, but get ready because mostly you're going to be talking to each other. And actually, we're going to start with a question. So Sylvia, over to you to bring us into the next part.
Thanks, Danya. All right. We want to invite you to start with us this morning by sharing some stories. First, I want you to think about a story from your own life, a time when you felt as though you really belonged. You weren't just welcomed, you were seen, and you were essential and eager to contribute. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Think of that story. Could be when you were in middle school, could be last week. Got your story? Notice, what were the things that helped create that experience for you? Okay. Now, I'd like to invite you to turn to one person at your table. You might have to look around. If there's someone on their own, include them into your circle. I'm going to invite you both, first, to spend 1 minute sharing your story with your new friend. Listeners, when you're hearing the story, I want you to pay attention and listen for what are some of those characteristics, those factors, those practices that really help nurture that sense of belonging for your storyteller. And then in 1 minute, I'm going to invite you to switch, and your roles will flip. Okay, you ready? Person A, go find your partner and take 1 minute to share a story. All right. Can you flip? Storyteller become listener, listener becomes storyteller. Can you go to the next slide? This one? The next slide. All right. All right. Here's the next step. Are you ready? What I want you to do as a pair is join together with the others at your table and just take time to share with each other what those common characteristics were that you noticed that contributed to that sense of belonging in the stories that the two of you just shared. Could be things, and what you're watching for is what's common, but also a novel thing that really resonates deeply as well, okay? Because what we want you to do together then as a table is to use that commonality you've started to discover, those patterns, and complete the sentence, this sentence, belonging is what? Belonging is, and choose one word on behalf of your table that really finishes that sentence powerfully for you. All right, going to give you a few minutes to do that. And in case you're an absolute rule follower, I'm going to say don't limit yourself maybe to one word, but just finish that sentence, right? Belonging is what? All right, folks, one more minute. And as you're writing your sentence, I'm going to ask you to choose one person at your table to be the holder of your table's sentence. Belonging is. Choose one person, 1 minute. All right. So hold that word, hold that wisdom from your table. We'll be calling on you to share it at the end. Over to you, Danya.
I hate to cut off these connections. I also got shivers. I just overheard some of the words that just sort of popped out somehow from the crowd as I was standing there, and I can't wait for the last activity. It's going to be really special. I want to set a little context about belonging, and I want to say in advance that it's a little bit sobering. Across the world, Many of you may have seen this data from the Edelman Trust Barometer, an amazing resource if you haven't spent time with it. I was really grateful to learn about it a couple of years ago. It was actually with Jen Blatz when I learned about it. Across the world, Edelman showed us that we are becoming more insular and less trusting of institutions and of each other. An astounding 70% of people are unwilling to trust people who they perceive as different from them and are actively working to make things worse for those people. 76% of us, though, see this as a huge problem. And in our work of building pathways cradle to career for all of the amazing young people on these lands, for and with them, it certainly is a huge problem, especially because the problems that we're accountable to solve are complex, are interconnected, and are beyond the ability of any one group or any one sector to get to alone. We notice these realities showing up in really real ways in really local communities, and I wonder if the same is true for you as well. Recently, Lisa was in New Hampshire working with the Seacoast Impact Collective, and as they were exploring what was happening in their community, they noticed a few things. They noticed that New Hampshire residents who say they feel they matter in their community fell sharply over the 4-year period from 2019 to 2023, from 76% to 43%. They noticed that helping neighbors, just things like doing simple favors, has fallen by half, from 11% of people doing that in 2019 to 5% in 2023. Only about half of people noted that they felt like they belonged in their local communities, and only slight majorities said that they're comfortable expressing their opinions or that they're satisfied with local relationships. I don't know about you, but I find this data shocking. Creating the conditions where people feel a sense of belonging, where they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel essential, they feel committed to improving the life of themselves and those around us, it's really never mattered more. You know, I don't know how many of you saw the US Surgeon General reports on loneliness a couple of years ago. Did anyone see that? Yeah. Especially since I saw that report, I found myself falling into this language that they use in the report. I can't count how many times I've said it, and maybe some of you have heard the language. It's the language that we're living through an epidemic of loneliness. And that feels really true, but I've also only just started to see a big problem with this language. I think that this framing, when we call loneliness an epidemic, turns it into some kind of a disease, something clinical, something that we solve really downstream, one person at a time. I find that it becomes easy with that kind of language to picture individual people struggling with friendships, with screens, with substances, with motivation, and to go to the conclusion that we resolve all of this with solutions that are also individual. Get out and meet people. Put down your phone. Talk to your husband at night instead of sitting next to him on the couch while he's on your phone and you're on a different phone. Go to rehab. Find a therapist. That misses the point, that loneliness, that the lack of belonging is a systemic design problem. Loneliness in rural places and urban ones, in Canada and in the US, all across the globe, is an outcome of how we've built our communities, our economies, our institutions and public spaces, and our policies. And so I think to meet this moment, we have to tell that story. The story that social infrastructure is not a nice to have, and that belonging is not something that we offer to create after people have already reached depths of despair. They're prerequisites for well-being, for learning, for economic opportunity, and for democracy itself. Creating belonging in the infrastructure that enables it does not sit with one sector or one profession or one program. It takes leadership that's shared, that's place-based, and that's operational across differences, across sectors, and across scales. The definition of belonging that we've been using at Tamarack the last couple of years comes from 2 years of work stewarded by communities across what we call our Communities Building Belonging Network, and by our colleagues Jorge Garza, Orpa Kandagan, Erica Massoud, Sabza Roop, and many other colleagues who can't be with us here today. And through work with 9,000 local leaders coast to coast to coast, it's really helped us to think about belonging as a 4-part definition. First, it's a stance. It's a stance that informs how we make decisions and how we choose to interact with each other. This stance includes resisting the simplicity of single interventions or policies, and instead building ecosystems of relationships and practices and commitments that reinforce each other. It's an outcome. It's a vital condition for community resilience and for human flourishing, for flourishing of all things, all living things, I would say. It's active, it's an action, it's a hopeful act. And it's a design principle. It's central to how we gather people to understand problems and reimagine what's possible. And what creates the conditions for belonging that happens repeatedly and consistently and reliably? The kind of social and civic infrastructure that all of you are building. In September of 2023, I was in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. Anyone been to Manitoba? I just learned that Portage la Prairie is almost due north of where you'll be in Nebraska next year, which I found very exciting. Well, I was in Portage la Prairie. It's a rural area. It's down a highway full of grassy plains and fields that feed Canada and that start the moment you end the city of Winnipeg. It's one of the 20 community building youth futures communities that we work with. These are rural and remote and First Nation communities all across Canada that Tamarack has the privilege to support. And in Portage, young, mostly Indigenous leaders are reimagining their education system. On the day I was there, I got to take a walk. It was warm. It's often very cold in Manitoba, but it was September, so it was still warm. And so I got to have the privilege of a walk with 3 young people. We walked by a mural that one of them had painted in memory of her deceased mother. We walked through the high school and the roving campus classroom that the young people in the community had helped design to reconnect with young people who had completely disengaged from school. We walked into the mayor's chambers, where these 3 young people were greeted with a hug, a few tears of happiness, and the gratitude of a mayor who was grateful for the roles that they were playing in committees that were making decisions on behalf of the community. As I left, one of the young women pulled me aside and said, "I finally feel like I belong in Portage." So over the last 2 years, we've engaged with 9,000 people across communities we partner with on what it looks like to build social infrastructure for belonging and to unpack the conditions that enable belonging. I think that young person in that moment really did more than anything else to help me understand what belonging meant to her. The most significant thing we've learned from her and from all of this other consultation and partnership and all these working groups is that belonging is not an outcome on its own, but it's something that sits beside economic mobility, early childhood outcomes, high school graduation outcomes, workforce attachment outcomes. It's not a separate strategy, it's an enabler, and it's not about belonging or something else, it's about belonging and all the other things. So what does focusing on belonging and cradle-to-career outcomes looks like? That's what we want to explore next. We're going to give you a couple of examples from communities that we have the privilege to work with, and then we're going to spend some time in tables for all of you to share what belonging and cradle-to-career outcomes looks like. Sylvia, over to you.
So, belonging looks like Portage la Prairie's Roving Campus Alternative Ed initiative for grade 12 students that are not on track to graduate. It picks students up, it makes sure that they're fed, it fosters relationships, and it creates personalized educational opportunities rooted in the community so that at the end of their first year, 100% of Roving Campus students are on track to graduate. 100% of them have also received professional accreditations, and 80% of them secured summer jobs. That was a first for almost all of them. As a result, the city's overall graduation rate has gone up 6% in 4 years. Belonging enables high school graduation.
It looks like the Future Ready Employment Summit in Moncton, New Brunswick, where 150 youth come together for a full day. And on top of the usual job readiness activities like resume building and LinkedIn navigation and the usual career pathway activities, they're also building confidence. There's a headshot booth. There's personal branding. There's conversations about who you are as a person and who you want to be. Belonging sees the whole person.
It looks like, sadly, at the moment, the realization that youth who get hired are the ones who often have relationships with employers, the ones who have an in. So in Sudbury, Ontario, 40 young people are being matched with mentors to build their social capital, career clarity, and to establish relationship with employers and the people who have access to them. Belonging opens doors to career attachment.
It looks like pushing a government funder to expand their acceptable indicators of success for young people to also include indicators like the number of trusted adults a youth has in their life and the degree to which a young person feels socially isolated and alone. Belonging is about recognizing upstream conditions for youth success.
It looks like youth being able to text their coordinator before walking into a boardroom full of adults. In Northfield Healthy Community Initiative, Minneapolis, through their Youth on Boards initiative, they're working to have youth sit at every municipal board. And the prep process for this includes a trusted relationship with somebody who is an ally. Belonging is having a voice and the allyship to confidently use it.
It looks like in Golden, British Columbia, a local business being one of the entities that convenes the poverty reduction efforts and partners at the table, putting aside traditional roles of what they're supposed to do based on the sector they're in, and deciding together to do what needs to be done based on the plan that the community told them needs to happen. Belonging welcomes in unusual partners and asks us to ask ourselves, what gifts do we bring?
It looks like a mental health summit where system leaders from education, health, and other fields join residents and come together to discuss what's not working and leaving titles off their name tags. Belonging shifts power and welcomes ideas from everyone.
It looks like the Good Neighbor Kitsilano initiative in British Columbia that activates trusted residents as block connectors to connect neighbors to create a grassroots response for emergency preparedness. And this is another unfortunate one because currently, unfortunately, in times of emergency, if we want to make sure that nobody is left behind, currently it's about who you know. Belonging recognizes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
It looks like the poverty reduction strategy in Deshken Zibing, Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, that has language and culture as a key pillar of its poverty reduction plan. Belonging knows that economic mobility depends on standing in the strength of knowing who you are and having that be seen.
So you've heard us define belonging and the social infrastructure that enables it. We've shared examples from many of the people that we hold relationships with. And we're curious for you to name where belonging stands in your work. So at your tables, we're going to ask you, how is belonging currently embedded in your work? Name those examples. We are sure that it's showing up, but name them. And also, what possibilities do you see? Okay, so we're going to be in table conversations for 10 minutes. Invite you to share how is belonging currently embedded in your work? And also, what possibilities do you see? we'll take one more minute. Feel free to look at your sticky note again, your belonging is statement, and feel free to add to it with something that your table has just discussed or discovered together. All right. Let's bring it back together.
All right. It's so important that we've taken time to ground in thinking about what's possible and what else or what more we can be doing to foster belonging. But we also want to make time and acknowledge that belonging and creating these conditions is not always easy. Belonging, creating that relationship, that can be hard. And particularly in times of scarcity, times of shrinking budgets and uncertainty, it can be easily lost as something we really need to bring to the fore and pay attention to. So as we were thinking about this conversation with you all this morning, we identified what we saw as some of the real tensions that make this work hard, and we just wanted to bring them to the fore. First,
relationships take time to build. We often are dealing with urgent issues and we want to take fast action, but relationships build at the speed of trust. We can't jump forward. We have to go slow, and we have to wait until those conditions are in place so that we can do really good, important work together.
So much of really transformative change starts from strong, trusting relationships, conversations at a table over a cup of coffee. It's really hard to scale these type of relationships. I can't hold 60 relationships the same way I can hold 10. And so this is a challenge in scaling work that's inherently relational.
As we heard from the Edelman Trust Barometer, we are more comfortable with people we know. And yet, at the same time, it is through diverse perspectives that our own blind spots get revealed. And so we need to really think about how can we remove barriers and be more inclusive and invite meaningful participation into the work that we want to lead.
It's really difficult to admit we don't know, we may have been wrong. We've heard the term throughout the last couple days about failing forward, but oftentimes when you're brought into a conversation, there can be pressure to feel like you have the answers, or you need to know the solution or offer something that is profound. And so one of the tensions that we see is that good leadership in this area requires us to be vulnerable. It requires us to sit with not knowing, and it requires us to name what we don't know and how we need to learn that, and we need to push egos aside.
The last tension that we see, and I think the word tension is really important, it's not something to be resolved, it's something to be noticed and managed. A couple of us worked on the first day with the polarity spectrum, which is a nice way of managing tension, but important to name these tensions so that we can know where we are on them. The last one is that the scale of the issues that we're dealing with are large, and there's pressure when things are big to standardize, and yet every community is unique. There are unique assets and gifts in each community. Every person is unique, and every person brings unique assets.
And so, these are just some And I invite this, hopefully this might spark for you, identification of other tensions as well. But we also wanted to let you know that we've been thinking about this and also wanting to identify what we see as some potential leverage points. Again, this is just the starting list, and I'm hoping that you'll all have others to add. So the first leverage point is really about making time to build trust, even when it feels too urgent. Mutual understanding and respect is what creates connections. You know, it's true that relationships don't scale, but norms do. And when we make it a practice to cultivate caring, welcoming relationships, then we are building the kind of norms that will help us to scale this important work. We know that we have to work to build across difference. This is a skill. It's a competency. It's something that we can learn, and it's something that we can teach, and it's something that we can practice. And it's never been more important to pay attention to that. We know that we know our communities best. We really need to not just look at the issue, the problem, the challenge. We need to look at who in the community do we know, who has insight, assets, connections that can be brought, and how do we engage them as well. And lastly, I think while it's tempting to want to have large-scale actions that are standardized, if we really want to honor the uniqueness of communities, we can accelerate and make that work simpler and easier by gatherings like this one, right? This is us coming together. We're making each other's work simpler and easier by sharing ideas, by sharing resources, by sharing insights. That is how we can navigate and have huge impact by mobilizing us all and supporting each other.
So think just for a moment about which of these tensions are showing up most in your work. Or maybe another one. Maybe write it down on your page. Think for a moment about what you're seeing that might be sitting in resistance to the work, how you imagine the work is, how you're embedding those elements of belonging into all of the work. So notice the tension, maybe write it down on your page, and also notice all that you have to work with. This is the abundance mindset we need to cultivate in this. It's not about what we don't have, it's what we have within the people around us, the places around us, the local assets, any organizational trust, any stories of your place that we can leverage to embed belonging into the work. We're going to move to our last piece. And so I'm going to invite you to look one more time at your belonging is statement. And I'm going to give you a moment to add anything else to it that you think is missing at your table. So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds. Pull out that sticky note, belonging is, read it at your table, and then also select one person who could be a representative for your table.
For the introverts like me in the room, that representative will be coming to the front stage and talking to everyone. So select based on that too. All right, have you picked your person? We have people picked? Volunteers? Excellent. Okay. Before we move into the final activity, which will be one of bringing the collective wisdom into the room and hearing from many, many people, we have a QR code here. If you scan it, I'm grateful to my colleagues Rute and Bobby for creating it, you should come to a page where there's all kinds of opportunities to continue to stay engaged in this work with us if you're so interested. We have working groups coming up this year that are going to be looking at the intersections of economic mobility, indicators, and belonging. We have a pledge that individuals and organizations can sign, expressing their stance, their willingness and desire to think of belonging as a stance, an action, and a design principle, and many more ways to engage, along with all of the wisdom from communities that I mentioned we've been privileged to collect over the last 2 years. Lisa, back to you to bring in this collective voice.
Okay. So we are hoping that 30 people, 30 of your table representatives, could come and join us on stage. So 30. So start coming up. If you're willing to be one of the 30, start coming up. We'll count. Okay, and we're going to make a big semicircle on the stage. Okay?
Yay, thank you. Come on up, come on up. Make your way around the circle.
All right, that looks like roughly 30. I think we're good. Yeah, love it, love it, love it.
Thank you.
Okay, so they're the people who are contributing on stage, but what I have learned about belonging is it requires contribution and it requires everybody to have a role, okay? So we're gonna give all of you a role, okay? So this half of the room, the role of the people on the floor is we are going to create a little bit of a beat, a little bit of a pattern that is going to, think of it as like spoken word, right? We're going to hear these belonging is statements, okay? And our role on the floor is to create the beat that people are going to speak to, okay? So this half of the room, okay, this half, your beat, so similar to yesterday, we're going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what everyone's doing. Sorry, hold up. I didn't give good instructions. So we're counting to 4 over and over again. Your rhythm is tap, tap, rest. Tap, tap, rest. Tap, tap, rest. Tap, tap, rest. Okay? It can be a snap. It can be a table tap. It could be a body tap, which is really good if you want to get in your body this morning. Okay? So tap anywhere that feels good to you. Tap, tap, rest. Tap, tap, rest. Tap, tap, rest. Tap, tap, rest. Okay? That is your beat. Your main challenge is do not speed up. Okay? Your role, this half of the room, is going to be rest, tap, rest, tap, rest, tap, rest, tap. Okay, got it? Okay. Last thing. If you are somebody who likes to sing, can you just come join me over here? If you're somebody who likes to sing, no pressure. It's a choir. Okay? If you're somebody who likes to sing, woohoo! Woo-hoo-hoo! Yes. Love it. Somebody who likes to sing, come join down here. Hi. Sorry, I'm just going to switch through. Whenever I point to you, choir, you're going to go, belonging is, in whatever note you want, okay? So whenever I point to you, wherever. Belonging is, okay? Yep. Belonging is, what? Belonging is, oh, we have harmony. Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, so whenever I point to the choir, they are going to do a belonging is. I love it. Oh, and we're going to amplify you. Somebody feel free to hold this in the middle. Okay, last thing, we are On the beat, the microphone's going to pass down. We'll have 2 microphones passing down
Mic check.
to the middle. And so go statement, 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 statement. Try to do it on the beat. Okay? Okay, so I'm gonna start the beat, and then it will look like beat, 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 belonging is blah. Beat, 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 beat. And so keep belonging is blah, belonging is blah, belonging is blah, belonging is blah. Okay? Are we good? All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna make music together. We're gonna contribute. We're gonna hear what belonging is. Okay, so I'm going to lead in the 2 sides, and then we'll start. And then anytime I point to you, choir, you do your line. Okay? Amazing. Okay, let's start with this half of the room. 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tap, tap, rest. 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 Don't speed up. Tap, tap, rest. Keep it going the whole time. Rest, tap, rest, tap, rest, tap, rest, tap. You are amazing. Rest, tap, rest, tap, rest, tap.
Belonging is.
Feeling connected to others as part of a bigger picture to which you contribute and from which you receive for support to thrive.
Yeah. Belonging is.
Belonging is finding commonality while celebrating differences.
Belonging is.
Belonging is safe.
Belonging is relationship.
Belonging is authentic acceptance.
Belonging is feeling safe.
Belonging is.
Belonging is acceptance.
Liberation in action.
Belonging is authentic acceptance.
Belonging is safety, intentional, and community-centric.
Belonging is.
Belonging is people seeing people as people.
Belonging is authenticity.
Belonging is genuine connection with myself and my neighbor.
Belonging is care, support, and the ability to know the importance of what everyone brings to the table.
Belonging is.
Belonging is acceptance, understanding, and transformation through relationships.
Belonging is being different but alike at the same time.
Belonging is acceptance.
And diversity.
Belonging is authentically connecting.
Belonging is intentional, authentic connection.
Belonging is when inclusion is active and trust is mutual.
Belonging is intentional inclusion.
Belonging is safety.
Belonging is finding the connection.
Belonging is chemistry and electricity, giving it time and being comfortable.
Belonging is.
Belonging is bringing together self-worth, community, and ultimately impact.
Belonging is a space for souls to touch.
Belonging is psychological safety to be your authentic self. Belonging is harmony, literally and metaphorically.
Belonging is relationship and community.
Belonging is caring, intentional, and action.
Belonging is feeling wanted.
Belonging is your people and your community and space.
Belonging is. Belonging is. Belonging is. We'll be here for the next 10 minutes.
Hey, everybody. Go ahead and give yourselves a big hand. Thank you for joining us this morning. What a great way to get our day started. Hope you enjoy the deep dive sessions and look forward to seeing you for our lunch plenary with Ben Solee.